Hi there, I'm Patricia Marshall from Luminary Press. If you're self-publishing a book, you've probably written it in a text or Word document, and you are going to send that document off to someone to format it into book pages, or you're going to format it yourself. Today, I want to show you how to clean up that document so that the formatting that you don't necessarily see on the document, you can see it and clean it up and save yourself a heap of trouble down the road. So to do that, I'm going to go to a Word document and start to show you what it looks like. So you probably have a document that looks something like this. It's pretty clean, it looks good, there's not too much going on in it. But when you're looking for formatting, you need to turn on this little icon up at the top, or find a command that says show all non-printing characters or show invisibles. If you turn this on, you start to see the formatting in the book. And this is really a valuable thing to know about because, again, this can save you a lot of issues down the road. Now, this document happens to be one that I did format. I went back to the original document so I could show it to you. It was a document my mother wrote. She self-published her first book when she was close to 90, and this was her original document. And when I opened it up and looked at it, the first thing I noticed was that in the middle of these paragraphs, unhooked a cane from the back of the chair, she had put a paragraph return. That's what this little mark right here is a paragraph return. And that means that the next line of text is going to become a new paragraph when you go to format it. Now, she did this because she was a typist, and that's how you learn to type. You got to the end of the row and you hit return. So you can see not everyone has that, but a lot of them do. So this is something when you're going through a document to look at. Most typists these days don't do it, but it's something to pay attention to. The easier issues to solve here, I'll come back to the paragraph returns in a minute, are double spaces. And I'm going to blow this up real big to see if we can see them. You can see in here, well, maybe it's too big. Hang on a sec, let's go back here. You can see that at the end of a lot of sentences, she had a double space. Now, or she had double spaces, which is too much. But here's one. Here's an example right here. Let's blow that up to 500. See what we can see. It's too much because, so you can see two tiny little dots there. They're very faint on this document, but there might be a way to make them darker. But you can still see that's a pretty big space. So when you lay out a book, you know, it kind of, it'll be glaring if you leave two spaces in there. So the first thing I always do when I get a manuscript like this is I search and replace double spaces. Now, here's the search button up here. I like to list the matches in the sidebar so I can really see what's going on. And here I just put in, I backspace to make sure there's nothing in that search field. And then I just put in two spaces. I hit the space bar twice. And I say replace it with one space. Now you can see there are 641 instances of double spaces. So and they show up in yellow here because that's how I have my preferences set. I'm just going to say replace them all. Now there's still 176 because think of this. If you have three spaces and you replace two of them with one, then you still have two. So in this case, there's like 2, 4, 6 in a row. So we're still going to say replace all. There's still three there. We're going to say replace all and replace all. So you just keep going until there are no spaces, double spaces left. And that's it. We did it. No matches anymore for the double space. That's the first thing I do. The second thing I do is I look at paragraph returns. Now, that's this figure right here. And you can type that in, or you can say, please look for a paragraph mark, which is a caret. That's the figure above the 6 on your keyboard. But I want 2 of them, so I'm going to just type in another one. So I'm saying look for 2 character returns in a row and replace them with 1 character return because you don't want double paragraph returns. So I'm just going to say replace all. Again, you can see there's 346. of them. And if you go one at a time, you can see them. There they are. But I'm just going to say replace all. And then we have the same thing again. There's another 82 of them. I'm going to replace all, replace all, replace all. In some cases, the characters are going to be, it's going to indicate a scene break. And I think if you go through the manuscript and you see that, you know, you can kind of tell where there's a scene break. You can just replace it with 3 stars and then still get rid of the double paragraphs. That's a really easy and good way to handle that. So that took care of the double paragraph returns. The other thing I worry about is the space at the beginning of the paragraph. So for instance, if you have something like this, that didn't do it. If you have something, well, let's just search for it. So I put the character return in there again, but then after that I hit the space bar. So you can see I made a something else. And here's one right here. Here's a paragraph return, but there's a space at the beginning of the following paragraph. You don't want that in your book because again, it won't align the paragraph and it will look bad. So there are 173 of those in here. We're going to replace them all. And there we go. Took care of that very easily. The next character I look at are tabs. And a tab is the caret, again, the thing above the 6, and a T. But you can always just do a pull down and it'll show you where those are. So you can see that sometimes she used tabs at the beginning of a paragraph and a paragraph style. I don't quite know what's going on here. But I'm going to replace the tab mark with nothing. And all the tabs are gone. There are no more tabs in this document, which is awesome. Another thing that is really helpful to find out is a manual line break. So here's one right here. This is a manual line break. And you need to get rid of these because if you justify your text, if you justify right, which most books are, the manual line break thinks this should reach from the left margin to the right margin, and it will stretch this wording out in InDesign, and I think maybe in Word, but I'm not sure. So you want to replace that, any marks like that. There aren't too many in here, just 2, but still, they're going to cause you trouble and they're going to make you crazy. Replace it with a paragraph mark, and there you go. You've taken care of that. There's a few other things I look for. You don't necessarily have to do this. I always try and look for double hyphens and replace them with a dash, either an N dash or an M dash. I like an M dash, so I'm just going to take those double hyphens out, replace them all. And I also look for 3 dots because 3 dots should be really an ellipses. And it sort of makes me crazy that Word doesn't have an ellipses symbol in here. So sometimes I go into the document and just put 3 dots in. And then it makes it, there we go, it's made it an ellipses. And I copy that, I put it in here and paste it. And then I replace all the 3 dots with that. Dot, dot, dot. Oops, 2 dots. I'm going to put 3 dots. So there's 39 of those, and I replace all those with the ellipses symbol. Honestly, I also needed to get that one out that I put in there, but the ellipses I put in, here it is, and take that out, because I don't think that was supposed to be an ellipses. Okay, I think it was just supposed to be a period. Okay, so those things will really help you clean up your document, and it will make your formatting process much easier. Just those few little steps, you won't see any weirdness. You might see other things that are weird. I was looking around in here and I saw some quote marks and with spaces after them. I can't find them right now, but let's see if I can now. Let's see. But you know, when you're doing things like this, quote marks there, and see if we have, so those were forward-facing quote marks in a space. So there's a few places where that happened, and I'm going to want to clean that up. With these, I'll probably go one by one and just replace it with forward quotes. There we go. Okay, so I want to find this one. There's another one, so I'm just going to replace them one at a time. There were only 10, and I want to make sure that I've got that right. You want to look for things like that, for backwards quotes with the space before them, just things that will make your page look far more professional and far more cleaned up. So that's all for now. Thanks for tuning in, and yeah, I hope it's helpful to you. I'm going to post a blog post on this below, so don't worry about taking notes or anything. I'll put a blog post down there, but I might not get to that for a few days. Okay, thanks.